Welcome into the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's the undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks inside of Rupp Arena to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. So glad to have you with us. Brooke Weisbro, Tiffany Green, and look, the standard has been set at South Carolina. A clinch of a share of their 8th title of the regular season in the last 11 seasons. When you think about this time of the year, postseason right around the corner, what's important to South Carolina at this time?
Health, right? So Camila Cardozo not going to play today. She's going to continue to rest. So for this South Carolina team, as deep as they have been, they get to use all of that depth today. Chloe Kitts will get the start for the South Carolina team, but for that next national championship.
When you look at Kentucky coming off of 2 straight SEC wins, the reason why they've been able to have success, Ajae Petty has been a big part of it.
Big part of it. I mean, Ajae Petty makes them go, keeps them going, and Coach Elsie wants to see them try to score fast at first. You're going to see a lot of this, a lot of spin moves from Ajae Petty, and when she can get the ball, does a great job of converting, right? 53% field goals. She's been a big reason for their success as of late. She's going to have some help, Tiff.
On the other side, it's Ashlyn Watkins. Since she's been inserted into the starting lineup, the sophomore has just stepped up.
Right? I mean, you're talking double-doubles, 11 points, 8 rebounds averaging in her last 5 games. I love the way that Ashlyn Watkins approaches the game. She's not in a rush. She's confident. She's intentional. And also, she's also really hard to stop.
Well, as you mentioned, Camila Cardozo not starting, the 2nd straight game that she is not playing for the Gamecocks, getting rest and much needed as the SEC tournament right around the corner starting in March on the 6th. And that first possession for the Gamecocks results in a turnover. You think about South Carolina coming in 26-0, so impressive what they've been able to do throughout the season. For the Kentucky Wildcats, it's been a different story for them. However, they're trying to build on what they've done the last 2 games.
And this is a Kentucky team, as head coach of South Carolina, Dawn Staley, knows, is in it for the rival. You know, they're an intangible type of team. So, you know, despite them winning by 62 points handily, as Watkins gets to work early going, he comes up limping a little bit after that play, a little ginger.
That was their meeting back on January 15th, and they're trying to erase that from their mind. They were bitten by that a little bit, heartbroken even, if you will, just how tough of a loss it was, but they've been able to bounce back. They were able to do so the next game against Missouri and pick up a win. And look, putting together wins in the SEC is never easy, game in and game out. Celebrating Senior Day here from Rupp Arena, the home for the Wildcats this season, with their Memorial Gymnasium under construction. Emma King, one of those seniors, the super senior, leaves it short. And Raven Johnson up the court. Johnson, Te-Hina Powell along with Watkins, Chloe Kitts, and Bree Hall as a 3-pointer is made by Raven Johnson. Johnson, a player who has really stepped up from the outside this season and improved her shooting.
I just love her confidence and her energy and the time that she spent working with Chloe Kitts and Ashlyn Watkins in that offseason, and the experience that she gained from there, from playing through USA basketball. Come back a totally confident player. And for South Carolina, you know, you get in the game with a turnover, but you make up for it with some good defense and a solid shot inside.
There's a Hall of Famer. Dawn Staley picked up her 600th career win Thursday in that victory over Alabama. As we mentioned, another SEC share of the regular season title. And for Dawn Staley, it's just what you've come to expect, what she expects to see out of her players, along with great assisting right there. It's Watkins to Kitts. That's something that she wants them to continue to build on. A 7-0 lead built early on here in Kentucky. The Wildcats sprint the timeout. Will step aside as well. Quick start for Dawn Staley's crew, who has long preached that the ball will find who should shoot it. And in terms of obviously finding how do you replace the production of a Camila Cardozo who is out, well, you know what? It's SEC best assisting team has shown that thus far.
And you see the way that they execute. Off the screen, Watkins is patient. She waits for the screen, then she rolls quickly and she finishes. You can go inside, draw the defense. Te-Hina Powell sees Watkins down low. Watkins sees a better pass, and option to Kitts. Like, This is team basketball, unselfish basketball, and the legacy that Dawn Staley will leave. You know, talking about championships, the way that these young women come together and play for each other in a year where they were supposed to be quote unquote a little down. Come on.
Well, after being not ranked as #1 in the preseason, they have been #1 since then and proven to everybody that this is a team that everyone's going to be chasing. At one point, they were the hunted. Now they're the hunters. And for Dawn Staley's crew, it's just next player up. Camila Cardozo, 14 points per game. She's not playing, getting some rest after having played a couple of some games with her national team, the Brazilian national team, trying to qualify for the Olympics. She had some soreness after that Georgia game. So there's a luxury on that bench for South Carolina when so many different players you can plug and play.
And we talked to head coach Kyra Elsie as Maddie Scherr gets the Wildcats on the board. Terrific to have her back in the lineup. Injuries for her this year. Nice cut again by Chloe Kitts. But Kyra Elsie, when we said, you know, how difficult is it to prepare for the depth of South Carolina? She just said, how long do you have?
It's one of those things where you think about Kyra Elsie, 4th season now as the head coach here, and she's spent time and watched a lot of basketball. She was a champion herself at Tennessee, and she wants to return some of that magic, and maybe this Kentucky team can do some of that back in what they did in 2022 in that SEC tournament championship where they beat South Carolina.
And this team is resilient. You know, this Kentucky team, they're tough. And they're going to fight to the end. I mean, Petty is one of the top players in this conference. And they struggled to try to find their way this year, but lately a couple of wins, you know, they're right back in it. And knowing the intangibles at times, if you can catch that chemistry, a couple of threes go your way. But you got to deal with the defense of South Carolina. And you go inside, it's not just the bigs who can block. 5'9" Raven Johnson giving a piece of the action too.
Top blocking team in the nation with about 8 blocks per game for South Carolina. Meanwhile, Kyra Elsie told her group earlier today, hey, play with nothing to lose. Just play free. And right now, they are trailing by 9 in the early going. Chloe Kitts thought about it, decides to pass it up. Bree Hall on the wing. Breezy hesitation goes in. Tough shot, won't fall. And some contact underneath between Kitts and Scherr, and a personal foul whistled against Chloe Kitts. When you talk about Maddie Scherr and having her back in the lineup, obviously missed 4 games, but she's just brought a veteran experience and component to this team. Transferred over after spending the first couple of seasons at Oregon.
Yeah, well, she and Te-Hina were roommates there. Pretty cool. Find that out today. They still keep in touch.
Petty took too many steps there, and Petty hands it right back over. Turnover for the Wildcats. Thus far, South Carolina's come out shooting 83% from the field, as Watkins and Chloe Kitts both have 4 points, a game high, and Raven Johnson, who knocked down that 3. We talked about the improved 3-point shooting, and Chloe Kitts right now inside having her way in the paint, and that's where you could pick up a whole lot of points in South Carolina's offense.
I really like the way she moves without the basketball. She does so much work before the catch that she makes it easy for you to find her as a guard, and then, you know, you see the way she's able to feel out the defense, right? Her sense. When you give a pump fake, she's also really learning how to use her speed to her best ability.
Well, the turnover there from Kitts into the hands of Brooklyn Miles, and Miles goes up against Pow, and Pow getting into the action. So the guards thus far having a little fun on the block party.
Right now, that's my favorite play of the game, because Te-Hina Pow using that principle of verticality rule, meaning you can jump, and you're going to hit body to body inside that circle. No foul.
Great dish from Johnson to Ashlyn Watkins, finishing off the play. She'll go to the line to try to finish off the 3-point play. But let's go back to the defensive end and the way Pow stayed right up there with her.
Love it. Just terrific defense without fouling. That's textbook. And then head up. Great job, not only on the pass, but the catch and the quick conversion. I mean, Watkins caught that and had to get it up in a hurry.
So Te-Hina Pau, who's a new addition to the South Carolina team this season. What an impact that she has made as Ashlyn Watkins knocks down the free throw. So a 16-2 advantage early on. Watkins with a game high 7 points thus far, and good defense going straight up was Chloe Kitt standing there and knocked out of bounds by Scherr. It's going to be South Carolina basketball.
Almost got an assist our way. More good defense from South Carolina. You just get to understand the fundamentals of it, right? You use your length, you use your space to your best ability, like block off that space, make them shoot over you. And you do it, you defend without fouling. Another key piece to a championship team is learning how to play that defense without being too aggressive.
Well, Dawn Staley already going to her bench early. Mylasia Fulwiley, the true freshman, in the ball game, along with Sanaya Fagan. And so Fulwiley will inbound it on the baseline. The true freshman out of Columbia, who has just wowed everyone with her flashy play. A generational talent is how she's been described. Sanaya Fagan has that one stripped away. Anaya Russell, the former South Carolina Gamecock, brings it back the other way. She's been nifty off the bench for the Wildcats this season.
Yeah, just a big scoring option for them off the bench. All 4 of her 20-point games, giving the Wildcats that boost when she comes in, so they can certainly use her help now. I like the fact that she said, I'm getting in, I'm getting right to the rim, not wasting any time.
Scherr going in, that one is blocked by Fagan, so already we've seen 5 blocks from South Carolina on the defensive end. Mylasia Fulwiley keeps her dribble, falling to her knees, back up.
Naturally.
Yeah. Easy balance as Breezy takes it in, and the charge called on Breezy, and way to sacrifice your body there, Amia Jenkins.
A good way to just help give your team some confidence here. Great help side defense, wow. Good lateral movement, gets there, heads up play, coaches love that. And what can Kentucky do to score? In my opinion, they're driving a little too far into the lane, trying to challenge the bigs and the guards, try to take that mid-range, get a little space past that furnish line of defense, hit some shots off the glass. Always create off your defense. That's the best offense when you're stalling.
Sanaya Tyler, who's coming off a career-high 22 points, saw that one halfway down before popping back out. She can also be a scoring threat to complement Petty and Russell on the other end.
And a good three-point shooter for the Wildcats, which is what they're hoping. Get a little luck from what the men did last night, dropping threes here in Rupp Arena.
Chloe Kitt's tough shot, and Kyra Elsie was saying, hey, look, save some of that magic. She called John Calipari and said, hey, do you have some of that magic that you can hand over from the three-point line?
There it is. There's some magic.
There's some magic along the baseline for Sanaya Tyler. As the Wildcat men took down Alabama, top rank in the SEC, and a push in the back, and it's going to go against South Carolina's Bree Hall.
Good take. Here's the early request from Coach Elsie. Drive early or late, just try to create an attack always. Good hesitation. And then the quick cross back over. Love it. You've got to hit that cross with power, especially against a player as fast as Fulwiley.
Yeah. And remember, Tyler in that January 15th meeting against South Carolina was the only Kentucky player in double figures. She had 13 in their first meeting.
Yeah, Kyra Elsie telling us about that game. She said our players were broken. I mean, that's a low state. You can feel what that locker room, or you can imagine what that locker room would feel like after a 62-point loss. And she said our players were embarrassed. You know, they were demoralized. And I said, we've got to have a short-term memory. So for them to come back, bounce back, win the next game against Missouri, this says a lot about this team.
Yeah. And what do we hear at shoot-around? Hey, look, we owed them our best. She didn't feel like they played their best basketball and have more to give. Too strong from Sanaya Fagan. Back the other way. And Russell and the Wildcats operating in the half court and decide to pull the trigger from the top of the key. And the three won't fall. Pau up to Fulwiley. Fulwiley with the speed and can't finish, but she's fouled.
Tempo is also a big part of this game. So transition Fulwiley with the ball. No, it was going to be full speed. She took off at the middle of the paint there, just glided almost all the way out of bounds.
The shiftiness of the true freshman at the free throw line. McDonald's All-American, the 13th ranked overall player in the class of 2023, and that's become a consistent theme with Dawn Staley's crews, is that, look, we're going to get McDonald's All-Americans, we're going to get the top players in the country, but we're also going to see them wait their turn and have their time to develop within this program.
I mean, players who are used to starting every single game of their high school career. Look at Breezy. You know, she's now starting and has put that time and that work in, you know, to be there. And it's another unfortunate walk for Kentucky, shuffling the feet on the catch.
7th turnover now for the home team. South Carolina, #1 team in the country, who has just been on a tear this season. In the corner to Tessa Johnson, and Johnson knocks down the triple. Tessa Johnson is a player that when you talk to the coaching staff, they say, look, she can shoot the basketball with the best of them, the true freshman out of Minnesota.
A nice soft splash, great rotation. Yeah, any player that can hit that shot from the corner, as Maddie Scherr hits a tough shot running out of bounds. There's that mid-range I'm talking about. They can get some shots, be able to knock them down, and then you see what you can do defensively. Just try to control the board as best you can.
Well, this is our final regular season Thursday women's basketball doubleheader coming your way on the SEC Network. We'll have Tennessee hosting Texas A&M at 7, and then the undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks square off against Arkansas in Fayetteville. You can catch it right here on the SEC Network. Fagan comes up with the board. Fulwiley surveying the court, working on Tyler. Tough shot. And she'll go to the charity stripe to shoot a couple.
South Carolina, so many offensive weapons and options that nothing's available. Give it to any player on the floor to CYOS, create your own shot out there. Malaysia Fulwiley, so good at that. I love what Coach Staley had to say about just that she's got a great intelligence about her game and the way that she approaches the game, the conversations that they can have. And say, hey, Coach, you know, I took that shot because I saw the defense was guessing I was going to pass. I thought it was time to keep them honest. And Dawn Staley's like, I think you're right, you know? And it's just that level of respect and conversation and the generational talent that she has soaking up that coaching. That's where it makes a difference in those moments of games where she can look at a defense and be self-aware to say, hey, maybe they're not respecting my shot. Let me remind them who I am.
Tonight, Tyler going right at the body of Sanaya Fagan, and she's going to think twice about it the next time.
Man, somebody's popcorn just got knocked over out there. Sending this one across the river, I think. Some authority, great help side defense again. And she didn't even get all of that. I mean, that was just a tip of the fingertips.
Tyler decided to take down the baseline jumper, and that one was true. She says, I'll pull it out a little bit. That's okay.
Yeah. She's a gutsy player, the 5'6" sophomore.
And Watkins, who runs over the defender, Emma King. And Watkins is called for the personal foul.
That's one of the specialties of this Kentucky squad, is their ability to take charges. It is an art. Emma King, the super senior, gets one.
Between King and Cassidy Rowe, they are masterful in doing so. Jenkins looking inside, trying to get it in to Janae Walker. Walker has it. They swing it around. Tyler, quick release. And rebound by Fulwiley. Some contact with Scherr, and a personal foul is called near midcourt. They're going to call that on Amia Jenkins. Correction on the foul. That's her second personal foul. And Speaking of Cassie Rowe, there she is checking in the ball game for Kentucky. As Maddie Scherr will go to the bench. Scherr was put up 48 points today so far for Kentucky. Pow sees the double team, has to get it out. Over to Fulwiley. And just letting time tick off and looking for that perfect final shot of the opening quarter. She's got to go to work. The crossover into the lane and just off the rim.
Still was able to come up with an incredibly creative shot, find the space to do it. South Carolina having a good start to this game, and we knew Kentucky was going to try to find the best offense they could in this game. Here's that crossover, staying low, Hezzy splitting the defense, going by 3 defenders. Boy.
And Fulwiley at the free throw line as the quarter has not come to a close yet. Natasha Cammey, Timothy Green, and Demoya Pugh are officials for today. Amia Jenkins was whistled for the personal foul. If that is upheld, that would be her 3rd personal foul. And they're going to say .2 remains on the clock when the foul did occur, so they'll make that adjustment. And Fulwiley at the line. Well, all of her points so far today have come from the charity stripe. 5 of 5 from the line for Mylasia Fulwiley, make it 6 of 6. So a dominating opening quarter for South Carolina on the road against Kentucky as the SEC regular season champs, a share of it. They've got that title. They're looking strong right now. All right, thanks so much. Back here in Kentucky and taking a look. If the season ended today, this is how things would shake out for the SEC tournament. You see the Wildcats at a 12 seed. They would play on that first day.
Yeah, that's a long road to go. But again, they've been there. They've made some magic before. Of course, we just saw Georgia put up the most points that they put up in the SEC this season with their win over Florida. But not an easy road by any stretch of the means in that top 4 seed. So nice to have those 2 days, those bye games, put you into place in the 3rd round.
Well, if you're just tuning in, South Carolina tops of the nation in blocks per game, and this is what we saw in the first quarter.
Yeah, and it's coming from everybody. The guards, the posts, Pow gonna give you some here. Fagan getting to work, she's already got 3 in this game. 6 so far for the Gamecocks. Tiffany, who have converted every turnover into a point. 7 turnovers into 14 points. It's great conversion rate right there.
Yeah. You talked about going into the postseason and wanting to make a deep run. Health, obviously, a piece of it. But also, when we talked to Dawn Staley earlier at shoot-around, hey, what do you want to see at this time of year? I want to make sure that we're seeing a mental toughness from our group as Chloe Kitts with the nice make and a tough make at that. So the idea that this group being locked in at this point of the season, having already clinched a share of that conference regular season championship, hey, look, we've got to continue to be dialed in.
Mentally stronger. That was the message. It's the young team. She said we've got to get tighter, and they've got to get tighter with what they're doing. As the later part of the season comes, they don't know what it's going to take from them to get to that next level until they experience it. You know, she would say, hey, this is their experience. They're going to go through it as they go through it. Yeah, but as coaches, I remember back in her time, she said, we were tired come early March. Mentally and physically, it takes a toll. So she also remembered that breakthrough and what it took. She said, look, we got to get to the Final Four, because when you're not there, you just don't know what to do with yourself.
It's a foul against Petty underneath the basket, so that's her first personal foul. The home crowd not agreeing with the call on the floor. To your point, Brooke, it is just such a tough run and a tough stretch, and it takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on you mentally, and it's not just the players, but it's the coaches too.
I mean, it's extra film sessions and the travel alone just could be wearing.
Emma King bringing down that board. Tyler going up, flips and can't get it to fall. Raven Johnson in transition for South Carolina. They've got numbers. Over to Chloe Kitts. And we're waiting to get the call. That was a charge, so they're gonna wave off that basket there as Johnson just couldn't slow down.
Yeah, and Emma King set up in the perfect spot. I mean, that's what taking a charge is. It's the art of trying to catch somebody out of control. You got that right, taking many for the team. Charge is just one of my favorite defensive plays.
That's a tough challenge and battle inside for Ajae Petty going up against Ashlyn Watkins, one of the best blockers in the game, as that was a long three from Te-Hina Pow. Where have we seen Ajae Petty have success when she's been able to work that block?
Well, when she's getting double teamed, she's trying to muscle her way through 2 and 3 defenders, and I mean, that's, you're meeting strength on strength there. You don't know what's going to give, so maybe if Petty could utilize that footwork, those great spin moves, some of her lateral movement, she could free herself up.
And we were having a conversation earlier. Yeah, you see her on film, but when you see her up close and personal, she's shredded. The shot goes down for Maddie Scherr.
You know, and also for Kentucky, you know, trust your players who can shoot the ball. Maddie Scherr, definitely one of them, and was leading this team in scoring, you know, having gone through the career she's had. Talk about resiliency, sheesh. That could be another charge.
And instead, it's a blocking foul going against Emma King. Another look at it here.
Great jab step to get by the defense, though. I mean, that tells you that that's the best is yet to come from Watkins. So much potential in her strength. Now, I would not want to take a charge. No, thank you from Ashlyn Watkins.
6'3" sophomore will have a seat as Zakima Walker in the ball game as Johnson puts it up and gets it to roll around. Raven Johnson, who averages close to 9 a game, already off to a good start in the early going. And a foul on the other end as Ajae Petty will stand. And Petty, thinking about her production, the way that she is having a terrific season this year, and really just kind of broken out of her shell, if you will. This was the breakout season Kyra Elsie was talking about with her.
She became so much more dedicated and having the open mindset to be coached. You know, a lot of young players, and just any player growing up, it takes that ability to kind of set your ego aside to say, hey, maybe you can tell me something. Maybe I can learn something by being here. The way that she bought in, not only to coaching, but she improved her mind, her body. Coach Elsie was excited to share that she had, you know, personal records in all her strength and conditioning records. So, you know, you hit the offseason hard, and it's going to show up.
I think I heard her say on the radio, one of her radio shows, that, hey, look, this is a player who I feel like is the most improved in Ajae Petty, just the way that she's approached everything. That one's stolen away, and Malaysia Fulwiley on the break and the finish. Malaysia Fulwiley, so quick, the speed up and down the court, and she just took off, went downhill.
Moves faster than the ball. Ball got to catch up to Malaysia Wiley.
Off the miss from Petty, and Raven Johnson pushing the issue inside to Zakima Walker, and stolen away by Emma King. And King finds Tyler. Nice bounce pass to Ajae Petty. Great court vision from Sanaya Tyler.
Those are the intangibles, right? Starting with just the hustle plays and being aware, and good unselfish basketball right there from Kentucky. This Wildcat team, they're going to play hard till the end. And South Carolina, as dominating as this game's been, is still well within reach for Kentucky to make a comeback.
And Fulwiley, the trifecta. Malaysia Fulwiley has 11 points to lead all scorers here this afternoon.
Fulwiley, such a competitor, and you can see what great potential she has as well. And I like that she started this game and she felt a little frustrated. You could feel it. And she's just making it up with hustle. And so much more involved in this game, just really engaged.
Well, sticking with it was Ajae Petty there as she'll go to the free throw line, but going back to some of Malaysia's magic.
Malaysia's magic. 8 times this year, she's led the team in scoring. Could be today because she can get it done from anywhere, especially from outside of 3.
Well, Daria and Steffi, we talk all the time. It's kind of like pick your poison with South Carolina in terms of who's going to score, who's going to step up. You said this is a team of, what did you say yesterday? No stars, but they have plenty of stars.
Oh,
no one star, but all of them
plenty.
Stars.
Well, you think about, you don't have a #1 WNBA draft pick on your roster. You lose your 5 starters, but you get back Camila Cardozo, who's Olympian. You get McDonald's All-Americans, and you made a point earlier about, it's become a thing to have McDonald's All-Americans at South Carolina. And what it takes, though, to become All-Americans at the collegiate level, then, to become WNBA draft picks. That's where the magic happens with Dawn Staley and her staff, Jolette Law, Lisa Boyer, and staff. The moments and the 1% betters every day, the little things that they do. And that young woman right there, Malaysia Wiley, loves to soak up the coaching, wants to watch film, and I immediately take that accountability. When players can do that, and it's the learning how to get them to embrace accountability, especially in film, then things really start to change.
Well, Petty, who has struggled from the free throw line. Just 2 points here this afternoon. They've got to get her going. Bree Hall back into the ball game. Hall, we haven't talked about much. The junior who you mentioned waited her turn. And I go back to that game against LSU where she helped to engineer that comeback, as that's a nice pull-up jumper in the mid-range. She hit that go-ahead 3, scored a lot of points late in that 4th quarter to pull out a win in a very hostile and tough environment. But that's what Breezy does.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that she stuck with it and sought guidance. Aaliyah Boston was a big mentor to her to help her improve her confidence. And the fact that her mother stepped in and called Coach Staley just to have that conversation of, hey, my daughter, she could use some extra help, some love, some confidence.
And Anaya Russell certainly has the confidence to try to knock down the shot. And she's found success in year 2 at Kentucky. Coming off a 14-point game against Mississippi State. That one was altered by Petty from Sanaya Fagan. Well, Saturday at 1 Eastern, Michi Johnson and number 20 South Carolina host the 24th ranked Florida Gators at Colonial Life Arena right here on the SEC Network. Boy, the success of South Carolina men's and women's basketball, ranked in the top 25 and among the tops in the conference, in the country. That's a nice recipe as Fagan is fouled.
Fagan was able to hold that position, and Fulwiley could see it. Just needed to use that spin move to open up that lane. And that's that next level vision. And I love the way that South Carolina, too, when they play well in close spaces. A lot of times teams get kind of confused and they step over each other. You never feel like South Carolina is too close or too crowded. They're always able to give each other space.
Fagan knocking down both. Her first 2 points of the game. Here's Maddie Scherr back the other way. Sanaya Tyler, we saw her knock down one from beyond the arc earlier. This time trying to penetrate the defense a little bit more. Russell trying to go to work on that right side. Crossover, step back, and nearly went down. A scrum for the basketball, and great effort there by Ajae Petty to keep it alive. And too strong from Tyler.
A rare offensive rebound opportunity, though. Actually, one of the few that Kentucky can get in this game. Usually, South Carolina's so good on the defensive boards.
Best in the nation and averaging 32.7 a game as Fagan sees that one roll off. Raven Johnson with a double dribble. And then turnover for South Carolina. What's it gonna take for Kentucky to get engaged and just have a little bit more oomph and energy?
Yeah, it's tough because you think about, this is where South Carolina's depth can wear you down. Everybody's going to play like they got fresh legs, and when you already start the game in a rut, now you're working uphill. Where Kentucky's getting stuck is they're playing a lot of one-on-one ball. Russell trying to take those shots. You know, you need some movement right here. This is a good possession so far. It's got some movement, some screens, and a nice open jump shot that Russell chose not to take.
Higher degree of difficulty off the mark. Pow, looking to her left and right, sees Raven Johnson, and a trailing Sanaya Fagan pulls up at the free throw line effortlessly and easily knocks it down.
That was like the last shot at knockout to get the player out. You go get your own rebound. Like, you can take a seat. At ease. Got to hit the trailer. Defense, nobody there. Petty late. It's another weapon for South Carolina to use your bigs, hitting shots outside. That's when you know you're having a good day.
Currently atop of the SEC, #1 team in the nation. Charlie Cream's bracketology has South Carolina as the #1 overall seed as well. Remember, they had a historic season last year, had an exit in the Final Four to Iowa. The question is, what's going to be brewing for this upcoming season with the way that college basketball we have seen on the women's side just explode? It just gets better and better.
We talked about this yesterday. You and I were there for a good rivalry game with Middle Tennessee State at Western Kentucky. And the fact that, you know, look at the postseason and we're hearing the Big Ten is sold out as Petty gets a great move. And that's where her spin move can come into play, that lateral movement. So if they can give her that ball in that area more and she can avoid getting double teamed, then she can work one-on-one. The Big Ten tournament sold out. I'll be at the SEC here pretty soon. You'll be at the American. It's just great to see the growth and the exposure. I mean, it's like a regular thing to see women's sports being talked about every day.
Brooklyn Miles up ahead to Maddie Scherr. Scherr looking, the spin move, and that one results in a jump ball. It's going to be South Carolina basketball.
Here's Ajae Petty off the catch. She really can get low. She's so strong. That's where her strength and getting those extra workouts really pay off. Able to finish that play.
Just under a minute and a half to go in the second quarter. South Carolina has dominated in pretty much every area. 54% from the floor, knocking down 50% from beyond the arc. And a balanced attack. They've been led by the true freshman Mylasia Fulwiley thus far. Scherr looking for Petty again, trying to work on Walker and Fagan. A couple of bodies. The help defense didn't matter as Ajae Petty muscles it up.
Weight room. Just absolutely getting it done down there. Ajae Petty has spent that time, and you love to see it. That's where you kind of think back to yourself, and she won't think about it at this moment. Later in her season, she'll be so proud of the work that she put in to have those nights and days where she can just make those kind of scores.
Great pass from Sanaya Fagan, and Sakima Walker finishing it off with a nice move in the left hand. It's been all South Carolina as Kentucky, we've seen a surge from them in this second quarter after being held to just single digits in the opening period. As Petty, who is being aggressive around the basket, she's looking for a shot, she's taking it right to the South Carolina defense.
Oh, well, she's getting shots as they're moving her outside. Then she can screen, split the screen there, get the roll, and then they find her. That's where the spin moves, so she doesn't have to just go body to body and try to use that strength. She can use her footwork as well.
A senior out of Baltimore, Maryland. Coming off 20 points, 12 rebounds, and that win over Mississippi State. That was their first road win of the season in the SEC for Kentucky. Petty knocking down one of two. Behind the back from Pow, gets it over to Chloe Kitts. Kitts makes a move. It was Pow who was open on the backside, but not in time. They're gonna go check to see if it did count. They're saying, yes,
yeah,
it did, okay.
Look, the guard knows when we can get a tip lay-in like that, that was a really nice play from Pow.
Well, dominating first half from South Carolina on the road. Ajae Petty trying to keep her team in it, but Mylasia Fulwiley leading all scores with 11 after the first 2 quarters.
Know that.
Little halftime performance here at Rupp Arena, and the crowd engaged, and that takes a whole lot of talent, quite honestly, that requires to grow Tiffany Green. I'm not sure that we have, but it's all good. We can't balance the umbrellas like that. All right, so glad to have you back with us. That was a dominating first half performance by South Carolina. The defense really set the tone. 7 blocks in that first half, and then they also shot the ball well and assisted and shared the ball.
Yeah, I love that part of the game. When you have assists on field goals made, as South Carolina's depth can speak to, you've got plenty of scores, and you've got unselfish basketball being played. And Kyra Elsie challenged her team to say, hey, we know they can block shots. Go in there anyways. And South Carolina said, we will meet that challenge and send the ball the other way. Lots of defense, lots of blocks in this game, and always speed with Mylasia Fulwiley, who's becoming a better defender, really tapping into that mental energy that it takes down the stretch to become that SEC regular season champion. And of course, we talked about the blocks and the defense, not only coming from the guards or post players. Raven Johnson getting into the act. Te-Hina Pow also a big part of it. And Kentucky have to perhaps stop and pop a bit more, that mid-range. And also, we haven't seen the Wildcats get into their 3 game a whole lot.
That was one of the points of emphasis earlier today at shoot-around is, hey, let's try to knock down some of those threes. The mid-range won't fall in the opening possession for Kentucky. We talked about Fulwiley having a great lift off the bench. Bree Hall knocks that one down. The 3-point ball from Bree Hall, and Breezy, who is just such a fun player to watch, and I think a great leader for this group.
And I like the, again, set up by an assist. Fell on Watkins, but now that she's able to really start to put the ball on the floor and create, teams have to pay attention to that. So she's going to draw the defense in, and then Bree Hall able to fill in that spot behind her. Here's Watkins really able to fake. Watkins getting her on the arm there.
Watkins with her second personal foul as Ajae Petty, who has been to the free throw line often in this ball game, but has struggled from the charity stripe. Just 2 of 8 from the line, but is able to knock down the back end. Chloe Kitts, she had 8 points in that first half. And Bree Hall is clearing it out. We talked about how she's grown offensively. And Ashlyn Watkins, the way she has stepped up. Remember, she had that first start of her career in the SEC against Auburn earlier this month. And since then, she has just been on a tear. And
what Dawn Staley told us today was that she's a player who's finding herself, and the things that she's getting, they're her wants now. So she's seeing the impact of film, of really utilizing not just her athleticism, but that work ethic. And as Kitts goes up strong and will draw the foul against Petty. Kitts able to hold her own against Petty as well. She's able to get that defensive position outside down in the block. And you mentioned it, just her toughness. She's probably one of the toughest players, to be out there down in that block, and has think about it. She was in college at 17 years old. She's like, I'm going to go early.
Yeah.
And be willing to take what the SEC is going to give me. Much respect for that.
The sophomore out of Oviedo, who was just presented great tenacity on the court for South Carolina. Hits 1 of 2. Maddie Scherr driving to that right side of the court. And McKean trying to drive the basketball. Stolen away right in the lane. That passing lane was Raven Johnson, and the step through couldn't finish. Tried to tip it back in. Another chance. And Johnson, who may have taken a shot to the face, just trying to shake it off. Maddie Scherr was whistled for her first personal foul.
Talk about anticipation.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in the right place at that immediate time. Grab that steal.
Again, the way that this defense has stepped up for South Carolina, Coach Don Staley says, hey, we have taken it to another level. And at this time of the year, as you approach the postseason, that's exactly what you want to see your team do, level up in all areas.
Yes, and a lot of that comes, with the results of single-digit quarters, which South Carolina is so good at doing.
We saw them hold Kentucky to single digits in that opening quarter with just 8 points. As Cassidy Rowe sees that one roll around from 3. Rowe, who was scoreless in her last time out, and the sophomore is able to get her first points of the game.
And the Wildcats so focused as Romas gets a steal. Okay.
I mean, right there, that nice pass, that extra pass, being unselfish, helped to create some awesome offense right there for South Carolina as Maddie Scherr is slow to get up. She appears to have injured herself. She's grabbing that right knee. When Petty asking for it, or Scherr asking for it, Petty says, I'll keep it myself, take care of business. But Maddie Scherr is limping on that Kentucky sideline.
Every Kentucky fan right now is holding their breath, knowing what Maddie Scherr has gone through throughout her career, the headaches, concussion, the ankle injury, and see if we can get a sense of what happened. It looks like she made a little contact and then lost her balance. So hopefully she seems to be moving better already. She's headed out toward the hallway, excuse me.
Jenkins can't connect. Hall comes up with the rebound. Pow, who just knocked down the 3, goes back to back. Te-Hina Pow. Second in the nation in three-point percentage. Boy, she has really elevated the outside shooting for South Carolina this season.
An incredible add to this roster. Somebody who hits basically 1 of every 2 threes she attempts.
Welcome back here to Rupp Arena. Brooke Weisbro, Tiffany Green here with you. Hey, Te-Hina Pow has been outstanding this season. We talked about her three-point percentage, one of the best in the nation, and this is why South Carolina has added that three-point threat.
Yeah, that was exactly what they needed heading to the offseason. So you get Pow, who's shooting about 50%. You got Raven Johnson, who put in the work to extend her range and her confidence from out there. I mean, look, there's a reason South Carolina is putting up numbers in the hundreds and 90s throughout this season. It's because you add to the diversification of your offense, right? You add a deadly three-point shooter and just a great player in Pow.
Well, earlier in the year, Don Staley spoke to both Pow and Raven Johnson and the fact that, she hadn't had a guard caliber combo like that in all of her career. They play extremely well together and off of each other. They assist well. They've done so here today. As a jump ball right out of the timeout. Possession arrow goes to the Gamecocks. But you talked about just the work that Raven Johnson put in the offseason after that Final Four last year. She called this a revenge season, and she has certainly come on strong for sure. Just all areas of her game, yes. A great Three-point shooter in Te-Hina. Pow says, look, I don't want one, I don't want two, but I want three in a row. Sanaya Tyler answering back the other way for Kentucky.
What we expected to see, certainly from Kentucky was some three-point shooting today. So probably starting to get into the moment there. Tyler, I like the way that she let that one loose. And Pow off the great screen. That's Kitts and Watkins. That's the double. Boy, that's going to get you open now. Those two can't screen. You are going to get a wide open three. And Pow taking advantage. Shoot 75% today.
All of her points coming from beyond the arc. Just more than 4.5 gone by in this third quarter. It's been South Carolina who has gotten out to a quick start and has not let their foot off the gas. Clinched a share of the regular season title, their third straight after that win over Alabama Thursday. Inside to Watkins. You talk about, yes, Te-Hina Pow, a great three-point shooter, but also a great assister. So she's usually responsible for about 20 points a game by scoring and assisting. Chloe Kitts with the block, pushing the break the other way. And Raven Johnson soaring in.
South Carolina able to take advantage of those transition buckets, because as this game goes on, again, they're going to wear Kentucky down. And you've seen Kentucky fight the spurts, the threes. They're still going to try to get some good shots. But to your point about Pow's ability to create offense, 20 points between scoring and assisting, and she makes the easy, good read and play, as does Sanaya Tyler right there for Kentucky, who's had a nice afternoon.
Tyler with 12 points, a dozen leads the Wildcats scorers, and again, Kitts this time finding Bree Hall, again sharing the basketball. The distribution on offense has just been so balanced and so even for South Carolina.
Well, there's 5 players with 3 or more assists today for the Gamecocks.
Inadvertent steal for Te-Hina Pow, just had her hand out, knocked it down, and another steal converting into points for the Gamecocks. Tyler chasing down that O board, kicking it back out. Russell with traffic underneath the basket. Flawless execution in transition for South Carolina.
Starting on the defensive end, right? A block leads to the fast break, leads to an assist. I mean, you're seeing just perfectly executed basketball. In a Kentucky team that, remember, after this game, Kyra Elsie felt like her team laid down defensively when their shots didn't start to go in. They're not doing that today, but you can certainly see a physical element and a mental wear down of this team facing the #1 team in the country, who's just relentless on the boards and fast break. Everybody can score, pass, and finish. Yeah, that'll be tiring.
That one rolls off for Bree Hall. Anaya Russell going in. Watkins tried to challenge, but rolls down for Russell.
Good up in the air, mid-range or change of motion. High degree of difficulty for that shot. Yeah, if Watkins had gotten a piece of that, might have deflated the ball. She was coming for it. A great job by South Carolina sharing the basketball. They have 21 assists today.
Bernadette Maddox breaking barriers. You think about what she did here at Kentucky, the first female to serve as Division I assistant for a men's team, and then took over and became the first African American to coach Kentucky women's basketball in 1995. And then the trend was set then. And the SEC has been so intentional since that time to clear the way and pave the way for others. Bernadette Maddox is a trailblazer indeed, and I love what Dawn Staley said, because she mentioned that she's got that trifecta. Yeah, we mentioned the men's assistant, first in NCAA Division I, and coaching here at Kentucky, but she was also the first female athlete who was an All-American at Georgia. And now you see Dawn Staley on your left and Kyra Elsie on your right. 2 of the 5 black female head coaches in the Southeastern Conference.
Yes, and you said it, intentional about representation, because if you look across the board, the players, you want to see who's reflected out there on the court. So for Dawn Staley, Kyra Elzy, Coach Yo at Ole Miss, of course, just many of the black coaches in the SEC and throughout the course of college basketball, I love to see that number grow. And the more black women, the more women we can get into coaching, I think the better. And I think the future's bright. I mean, we see in the game, we always knew the game was good. It's just the general public is now starting to be like, oh yeah.
But the impact that she's left, Kyra Elzy, when we talked to her earlier, says, hey, look, Bernadette Maddox still provides great wisdom and insight and even some unsolicited advice in the process, but it's something where you know that she has impacted so many different women. Maddox was a coach at the time who actually recruited Kyra Elzy out of high school. Dawn Staley says, look, we owe a debt of gratitude to Bernadette Maddox and what she's been able, or what she did.
Growing up here in the Cincinnati area, just being familiar with Cincinnati basketball, Kentucky basketball, Bernadette Maddox was a name you knew about, growing up, and the impact that she had to raise the level of this program in Kentucky, where basketball means so much more. It's an incredible contribution. I love the fact that she's still part of the team. And Coach Elzy, said, hey, I know you didn't ask for this advice, but let me help you out a little bit through this. So it's a great mentor to have.
Fagan on the make, and I think we continue that conversation. It's Black History Month, obviously highlighting the efforts of so many African Americans who have made impact in sport and in this world. The intentionality on the other side, right, for the men's, right? So you have Lamont Paris at South Carolina, Jerry Stackhouse at Vandy, and Dennis Gates over at Missouri. And the relationship that's been built between Coach Staley and Lamont Paris, both, vying for a deep run in the playoffs. Look, she's already clinched another SEC regular season title. Lamont Paris and his crew in process of trying to fight for theirs.
Well, winning must be contagious there at South Carolina. The tradition that Dawn Staley set. Oh, Fulwiley getting contact, is still able to get the pass. My goodness, she took a spill.
It's on number 22, Maddie, Scherr, her second, and it's fourth.
Fulwiley. Yeah, Scherr behind her, just kind of caught up in the momentum.
On the inbound. And Petty is able to swat it into a steal.
There's
that
that
spin move. Patent by Petty.
I was hoping we were going to see it sit out a few times today. I like seeing her in the open floor. You just kind of don't know what to expect, but a highlight's coming.
Fagan flashing at the free throw line. Leaves it front iron. Brooklyn Miles flings it over to Tyler. Quick shot along. 15-footer falls for Sanaya Tyler.
She got a quick release, doesn't she? I like the way that she's still continuing to look for her shot. 14 points this afternoon. Two players from Kentucky, she and Petty, both in double figures. And they were just trying to find any offense they could. It's been a team that has just struggled to score.
And coming away with the steal. And Kentucky looking to convert it into points. Scherr, who's back on the court and looking healthy.
I wanted Scherr to shoot that shot from the start. And I tell you what, she's not 100% because she is not able to get that left leg all the way through when she's running. So to get lifted to hit a three is a big deal. There's the pass out to Scherr, the good spacing. She was trying to force it inside, trying to find Petty before. Kind of got bailed out, able to get that three back.
Three Miss Kentucky basketballs on this team for the Wildcats, and Maddie Scherr, who came back home after starting her career at Oregon. is back home here in the Bluegrass State. We mentioned Scherr along with Brooklyn Miles and Amia Jenkins on this current roster who were Miss Kentucky basketball awardees.
A big point of emphasis for Kyra Elsie to build on the talent that's local here. Of course, former Miss Kentucky basketball herself. She loves the pride that these players take in. People have watched them play since they were young. And that pride, the Kentucky Blue, they love to represent. They got one more quarter to play hard here. Still gonna get after it. Coach Elsie.
South Carolina, a #1 seed, obviously the #1 overall seed. But you've also got to take a look at game day. Okay, look, they were just in Blacksburg, and Virginia Tech was able to walk away with a victory over North Carolina. They got the win. They protected home court with a 74-62 win. But let's talk about game day, right? The experiences that we have seen. So Blacksburg, they were obviously in Columbia when they faced off against Georgia. What all kicked it off was South Carolina LSU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to see that game day is making multiple appearances throughout the season. I love the fanfare. What a great job the crew does of getting everybody ready. And South Carolina said, hey, they showed up. Fans were out ready to go early. It's just great. I mean, it's just another indicator that, you know, you put the product on TV, people are going to watch it, support it, get behind it, ready to go.
It's the fams.
Those
the
fams.
fams.
Fams always ready to show up.
Right.
And I love that, too, because, you know, Dawn Staley built that culture and that the fans, right? The fan following there in Columbia. And you see it being replicated throughout other schools and, you know, other places there where women's basketball is just growing. And you love to see it. I mean, that Virginia Tech game, I had Virginia at Virginia Tech not too long ago. It was their second sellout of the season. It was bumping. All the students were there just loud and proud.
Fulwiley, with the fake and the blocking foul as the contact with Emma King. She's being helped up as Fulwiley tried to put on a move.
I'd have to disagree with the call there. I feel like that was the charge, although
Looked like she may have leaned
into it. Yep, that angle provides a much better look into it. It's not about your feet being set. It's about being in that correct defensive position, and she was not there, so that's why the block was called. So great job by the officials there to catch that one.
Emma King being feisty on that inbound, contesting it, picks up back-to-back fouls, now her fourth.
And one of the big parts about this time of season, you have a couple games left. You don't want to overlook anybody looking out to the conference tournaments and the NCAA tournaments. And it's a challenge for any player, but especially a young team. You think about South Carolina having to focus on the details, the little things. Well, that's challenging. You're tired. You want to get to that postseason because right now you're just like, what's next? What's next? But you have to stay in that moment and stay in those plays and those stops. And Coach Staley, you know, she knows. She knows it's these little moments that are going to pay off for her and, or get exposed, right, in the postseason.
So now Fagan at the line. Just a reminder that tonight at 7 Eastern, we'll have a 3.5-hour recap of this week's SEC men's and women's swimming and diving championships. The Florida Gators have won the last 11 men's titles and are also the women's defending champs as well.
Are you a jump off the high dive kind of woman?
No, I am not.
No?
But I appreciate others that can do it.
Yeah, I would say I quite am either, but I do have the daredevil in me a little bit. That's a great event, diving.
It's not Tyler just trying to dive into the teeth of that South Carolina defense, and she'll get a couple of shots. But see the communication here going on between the Gamecock players. Again, that's important to have, making sure that everybody is on the same page at this point of the season. You want to be clicking on all cylinders.
At this point in the game, this is where
Yeah.
the mental energy kicks in, because it doesn't matter you got a big lead. It doesn't matter that it's the fourth quarter, you're ready to rock. You have to act like the score is 0-0. So the growth happens when you're uncomfortable. It's easy to settle into this game and kind of play like, hey, let's use our talent, our depth here for South Carolina. Let's make some highlights. The more disciplined and the better approach is what they're doing now, is really trying to stay in, work that offense, and not get out of who they are. That's where growth happens.
Sanaya Fagan with the make, and Fagan is just one of those nice, consistent pieces to South Carolina as it's stolen away by Tessa Johnson, and the layup on the other end.
South Carolina's 27th point off turnovers.
Coming up with the rebound. There's Fulwiley changing gears, finding Kitts, who finds Fagan and in. Sanaya Fagan, a player that we don't often talk about as much, but she's got the full range in terms of skill set. She can come out if she needs to on the wing. She's a presence in the post. You see there contesting that shot from Brooklyn Miles.
Yeah, Fagan's had a great afternoon. Just one of, what, 4 or 5 players, 5 for South Carolina that's hit into double figures. Good passing. That high-low action, so hard to stop when you have a good post player with guard skills the way that Chloe Kitts is. You can see it touch pass down there.
And Petty wins it inside with that spin move and finish with the left. Kitts, a little hesitation, pulls up.
Okay, Maddie Scherr with the handles. Scherr wanted that ball back.
Miles with the nice take, and Brooklyn Miles going right to the hoop.
You see this Kentucky team just trying to find that effort and having trouble just moving once they get past half court. Making it easy for the defense. Chloe Kitts going to work inside.
Petty tracking down the rebound. Still a sizable lead for South Carolina. And Kentucky continuing to try to claw away there as Bree Hall is whistled for the foul.
Brooklyn Miles, a 5'5" junior. Quick crossover, keeping it low. And this Kentucky team still trying to do what they can do to attack. Kyra Elsie said, hey, we got to keep pace up, pace, let it go. And reminded her that she's also a 400-meter state champion. So her pace isn't exactly everybody else's pace, but Brooklyn Miles has that quickness to her game, that's for sure.
Scherr being defended by Johnson. Miles over to Emma King. Sanaya Tyler almost had it to go. Inside, and Sakima Walker with the bucket.
6'5" senior. I mean, you think about so many other places where the bench that runs so deep, players who are getting 10, 15 minutes a game, they could be starting at other places, get 15, 20 shots a game. You know, but just speaks to the efficiency. The South Carolina team shooting over 62% on the day, over 63% from 3, and 88% from the foul line. It's incredible. 27 assists, though. Honestly, to me, that's the most impressive statistic. I feel like that's the most assists I've seen in person this year.
And Miles trying to cut through the teeth again, blocked by Sanaya Fagan. 10 blocks this afternoon for South Carolina. They lead the nation in doing so. And then Walker sees that one roll off. Fagan is right there and rims it in.
And Coach Dawn Staley clapping from the bench. She likes the effort. She liked the unselfishness as well, and then the cleanup after that. That's telling. Goodness, 36 bench points from South Carolina. Meanwhile, Kentucky is trying to find their offense, let alone from their starters. Haven't been able to get anything from their bench.
Well, that's part of the game for South Carolina. Best in the conference with 32 points off the bench as King fires it up. Shot clock violation. Did it touch?
I think it hit the rim. Now, I was wrong about the pow-pow shot, but I think this one did hit the rim.
They're going to look it over, and we're going to step aside here. The media timeout with 4:43 remaining from Lexington. Thanks so much, Brooke Weisbro, Tiffany Green here with you from Rupp Arena. And these South Carolina Gamecocks have shared the basketball exceptionally today.
Love the way they're always looking for each other. Look, everybody's heads up. When they catch the ball, their first option is not, hey, let me try to dribble and create. It is who else is open. And you see not a lot of dribbles, but a lot of passing today. 27 team assists for the Gamecocks off of 34 field goals. That's just an incredible ratio. And it's got to be just satisfying for Dawn Staley to see her team rack up the numbers here.
Well, twice this season they've hit the 30 assists mark against Maryland and Clemson in the non-conference, but so many of her different players have assists, 3 assists or more for 6 different players on this South Carolina team today. Ajae Petty, who has been a frequenter at the free throw line for Kentucky. She's the second person, well, there's 2 that have made trips to the free throw line today for Kentucky. She is 4 of 12 this afternoon.
Well, this Kentucky program with 11 regular season wins, 4 here in the conference. They had come into this game having won their last 2, Florida, and then 1 on the road at Mississippi State. They were able to put up 81 points against Florida, 78 against Mississippi State. So the scoring prowess, it is within them. But of course, trying to face one of the toughest defenses out here is just tough. And so for Kentucky, they'll try to regroup, get ready for not only their next game, but what that postseason is going to look like.
The 50th season of Kentucky women's basketball, and that was something that Kyra Elzy talked about during that losing skid. Hey, she said before that Florida game, it's about pride, right? I want you to play with pride, those who wore the jersey before you, and it's a great time to display that competitive spirit that you have. And this is a group that hasn't given up here today, obviously been overpowered by South Carolina, but has continued to fight. We saw in those second and third quarters the way they were able to hang tough and try to go toe-to-toe with the Gamecocks.
This is the hardships of playing in the SEC, is knowing you're going to get the best in the country twice a week during conference play, and that's just where it really wears you down now. Kentucky feeling demoralized after that first loss. I'd say they came with a stronger effort today. Did their best to try to compete, get some good shots up. The strength and the depth of South Carolina proves to be too much for everybody they face this year.
Fulwiley to Fagan. And another rebound snatched down by Ajae Petty. 16 points to go along with 7 rebounds for Petty, or rather 8 rebounds now.
Petty trying to call for the ball down there, really working hard. South Carolina still sending a soft double. Leave her alone on the catch.
On the steal, Mylasia Fulwiley loses handle of the basketball momentarily, gets it back. And the matchup, mismatch inside with Kitts over Cassidy Rowe and Kitts Rinzak.
Now still a great catch and finish by Chloe Kitts, 6'2" over 5'5". Yes, she had the height advantage, but she still had to move to make a difficult catch.
South Carolina has made it tough all afternoon long, deep into the shot clock there for Kentucky. The rebound from Kitts. Kitts, who has a double-double on the day tonight. Fagan finds Bree Hall, who rims it in. Kissed off the backboard. And yet another assist, as you mentioned, for the Gamecocks.
I feel like they can rack up 2 more. Break that record here. 29 now. 30, you said was the season high. They hit it twice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm feeling 33, actually.
Okay. Well, tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, after our women's basketball matchup, we'll have a 3.5-hour recap of this weekend's SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. The Arkansas Razorbacks are the defending men's and women's champs right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Tyler sends it flying too strong. And one of the conversations we had with the coaching staff earlier from South Carolina, hey, they were up watching South Carolina compete as Fagan makes the shot in those indoor track and field championships. And Malaysia Fulwiley, who, you know, pretty calm, cool customer, was really into it.
Yeah, she loves track and field. Has had some friends that were in the races, and it was kind of cool to hear the story just of how demonstrative she became. I would love to see that. You know, you'd love to see like athletes cheer for other athletes, right? As Kentucky gets a score there from Janae Walker, the freshman from Georgia. I mean, we were at Western Kentucky yesterday. The whole football team showed up for the women's team, and they were loud. It's great. Love to see that team support.
South Carolina, who already has matched their scoring total from the last time they met. The Wildcats trying to break the century mark as Fulwiley is fouled.
For the Cats, number 4, Ina Russell. Replacing number 34, Emma Kay.
Tyler's afternoon is done along with Emma King, who was one of those super seniors, one of 3 in that senior class for Kentucky. Correction. Tyler goes to the bench now as Jenkins walks in, but Emma King in that senior class was honored before today's game.
Emma King sit back. I understand she took the full force of South Carolina today. That young woman put her body on the line and did what she could to take those charges.
South Carolina hits the century mark after those 2 made free throws from Malaysia Fulwiley. Russell, and she's fouled. Remember South Carolina, and they came out of the gate strong as Russell exchanging some words with South Carolina. And as the 2 retreat, another look here as Fulwiley was whistled for the foul on that take from Russell.
2 competitors that, you know, don't want to give up any room when they're going at it. You get it. You just want to make sure that you get reset here. Have a conversation with head coach Don Staley. Yeah, certainly got to see the bigger picture, not elevate anything from here. Good job too by the officials to step in, make sure it was all good.
These conversations are being had as Coach Staley talking with Malaysia Fulwiley while the free throw attempts were made, and just coaching up her young guard.
It's going to be many more conversations. And look, I mean, Coach Staley competitive as could be, staff competitive as could be. So, you know, it's good to have a little fire. You know, even this late in the game, you want want to make sure you have that and be able to talk through it. As Breezy Hall knocks down the three. Breezy for threezy.
A timeout taken on the floor.
Full timeout.
Full timeout. Well, 6th time this season that South Carolina has scored 100 points or more. Remember, they opened the season with a 100-point performance and win over Notre Dame, then hung 114 on Maryland and 109 on Clemson. First time, though, in SEC season that they've put up 100. And as we take a look at Charlie Cream's bracketology, we mentioned South Carolina at #1 overall seed, but a lot of jockeying and movement that can happen in the final few games of the regular season. Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Auburn, all on the bubble or among the last 4 in. Arkansas among the first 4 out.
Love the way that Don Staley's coaching them up in the huddle as well. Trying to say like, hey, well, you know, what happened here? Let's keep it light, keep it right. All smiles at the end of the game. Finishes strong.
With a great relationship that she's been able to build with her players, and again, the culture that has been cultivated by Dawn Staley speaks to the number of players you talked about earlier that have become All-Americans, gone on to be #1 first-round draft picks in the WNBA, and the success they've seen there, the Aaliyah Bostons, the Asia Wilsons, the Zia Cooks, Tiffany Mitchells of the world, and the 2-time national champion coaches hoping this year's squad can get a 3rd. A lot of basketball to be played before then, as Fulwiley with the steal pulls it out.
Coach Staley's suggestion, huddle timeout, just wants to let this clock run down here.
Brooklyn Miles steals it away. Again, this was a game without Camila Cardozo, who was resting for a 2nd game in a row after having competed earlier this month with Brazilian national team. Ashlyn Watkins, who really helped to set the tone on the defensive end with a few blocks, also put up 13 points in the process, but they've got to get it up before the end, and Kentucky is not able to do so as this game comes to a close. Overwhelmingly convincing win for Dawn Staley and her South Carolina Gamecocks. The undefeated Gamecocks move to 27-0 overall on the season. Your final thoughts here, Brooke?
32 points off turnovers. You shoot 65% basically from the floor and from 3, 90% from the line. My favorite thing, though, again, the assists. 30 of those. Terrific, unselfish basketball by South Carolina. Chloe Kitts with the double-double in her start today.
Well, South Carolina continues to roll on and look in tip-top form and ready for the SEC tournament. For Brooke Weisbrod, I'm Tiffany Green. Let's send it back to the studio with Dari and Steffi.